£27,000. First one here, second one here. These are the two withdrawals I made in the past 3 days. Now, how does it feel to be making £27,000 in 3 days? Well, first of all, don't believe everything you see on social media. Yes, I withdrew that in the past 2 days and it hit my bank in the past 2 days. But the same with everyone here. It didn't take me 3 days to make that. That was this month's profits. But still, £27,000, which is about $32,000 in the past month, is not a bad month. You know, it's a very, very good level of earning. Now, I wanted to sit down and talk to you guys about, first of all, how I got here. Second of all, how you can get here as well as how it feels to be at this point right now, because I'll give you some brutal honesty. It feels no different to when I was making £5,000 a month, £10,000, because at the end of the day, the money that you're trying to make and trying to chase is not the actual end goal. So many people want to see a specific number in their bank, or they think they want to see that, when in reality, the only thing that actually matters is, can you afford to live a life of freedom? Because that is all you're chasing. You're chasing the freedom to be able to go ahead and do whatever you want to do, or to be able to, you know, move to a certain country, do a certain thing whenever you want, take your loved ones out to eat, maybe buy a nice car as well. And yeah, the materialistic things are great, but at the end of the day, the thing that you are really chasing is that freedom that I just spoke about, because that is really what makes a human happy. Nothing is as good as freedom. And when people say money doesn't buy happiness, they're talking complete bullshit, because freedom buys complete and total happiness. You are able to do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do. And therefore, even though I'm still working, I'm working because it's a choice, because I decide to do this, because I want to pursue a certain thing. And I believe as men and as women potentially, we are happiest as humans when we have a pursuit, not when we are stressed or when we have, you know, essentially luxury items or happiness. We are happiest during the pursuit of something great, and that is what I'm sort of trying to achieve right now, and I'm sure you are too. So that's how it feels realistically. There's no difference from making 10k a month to 30 to 50k, right? It just doesn't make a difference as long as you can afford real freedom. You know, I'm not someone who's gonna go out and buy iced out chains or an iced out watch or spend whatever it is on chrome jeans or anything like that. I think this is also stupid. Materialism is nothing special, right? So as long as you can afford a life where you don't have to worry about the bill when you go to a restaurant, then everything's good. But moving on to the most important part of this video, which is, how did I get there? And realistically, what shift did I make within my trading that allowed me to actually start making a lot more money? And the shift was very, very simple, okay? I was genuinely making between 2 and 5k a month trading for a decent amount of time, and I was spending an extreme amount of time on the charts, you know, 6, 8, somewhere around there, 6 to 8 hours on the charts every single day, trying to squeeze as much money as I possibly could out of the market. And I know traders that do the same. I know traders that spend 12 hours on the charts and they make way less than me. And the reason behind that is, when you are trying to do this, you are essentially not trading in an optimal headspace, you're not trading in optimal conditions, and inevitably you're going to end up giving money back to the markets rather than actually taking as much as you possibly can. Now, trading is one of the only things in life where more work and more time spent does not necessarily mean more results, right? So in anything else, if you look at, you know, the gym specifically, running, any other business, you would ideally say that the more time you spend in that pursuit, the more money you're going to make back, or the more success you're going to have. But this is just not the truth with trading. Now, yes, the more time you spend educating yourself to a certain level, you're going to essentially be a lot better off. But I made a video actually last week about how that gets to a point as well where you're actually going to become detrimental when you learn more. But anyway, more time trading, and especially more time on the charts, does not mean more success. Now, essentially, this is down to a number of things. The first one being, trading is a game of optimal, how do I say this? Let me re-put that. Trading is best when you're trading during optimal times. So trading during unoptimal conditions, unoptimal, psychological conditions or market conditions, is going to put you at a setback. So the A+ setups and the setups that you want to be taking are coming at specific times. They're coming around market opens, around news, around times of high volume. Now, if you're sat there for an extended period of time, a couple of things are going to happen. First of all, you're going to get to the point where you're so bored of sitting there and you think you need to get a trade to justify the amount of time you spent on the charts. And what's going to happen then is you're going to search for a position, your brain is going to subconsciously find one or make one when there actually necessarily isn't one, and then you're going to be trading in unoptimal conditions, low volume, low probability setups, and the likelihood of that trade succeeding is going to be way, way, way lower than when you would have traded during market open or during optimal volume times. So to avoid that, you simply want to just go ahead and actually figure out and sit there and figure out when the best times for you to trade is. Maybe spend a week on the markets writing down when the volume comes or when your setups print, because it's going to be different for each trader's strategy. Maybe some traders get better trades during Asian at the minute or during New York, and this is also going to change as the market cycle changes. So you need to go ahead and figure out when that is and keep adapting when the volume is coming and when you should be trading, because at the end of the day, that is the optimal time for you to be trading, and that is the highest probability. And that brings me on to my next point, which is, let's give you a hypothetical situation, right? Let's give you a hypothetical situation. If I said to you, right now, let's take a sniper, for example. I know this is overplayed, but let's take a sniper, right? You have a sniper rifle, and someone says to you, if you hit this target right here, you're gonna get $500 right now. However, the wind is currently blowing like crazy, maybe the target's moving right now, and also you have no stability, so you're not gonna be able to be as effective. But if you take it right now, you get $500. Or you can wait 3 hours and there's gonna be no wind. You can go and get a tripod so you can go and rest the gun, and the target's gonna be sat still and essentially eating or doing whatever. So you have a much higher probability of hitting that shot. And if you wait for that time, you're gonna get actually $1,000 instead of 500. But what are you gonna do? Obviously, you are going to sit and wait, because you understand it makes a lot more sense for you to be going into a higher probability situation in order to make that money than it does in a lower probability. It's such an obvious statement and an obvious question to answer, but somehow when you translate that into trading, the exact situation is the same. If you trade right now, when the conditions are not optimal, the likelihood is you're going to lose, because maybe the volume's not right, maybe we haven't had a liquidity grab, maybe the market's not actually even open, so essentially price action is not moving as it normally would. Or if you wait 3 hours, New York open, suddenly you have volume, you have a good amount of liquidity, you have clear direction. Now you're taking a position where your confluences are aligned, and you are so much more likely to actually be able to take a position that is successful than if you trade right now, or if you trade later on in the day after you've forced it and the volume's gone and the moves may be missed, you know? So essentially, it comes down to discipline. It comes down to whether or not you actually are disciplined enough to, first of all, wait for a setup, second of all, to stay patient and actually be patient enough to the point where even if you spend all day on the charts, you don't need to take a trade. You don't need to justify your time on the charts, okay? Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is decision fatigue. So decision fatigue is essentially where you are going. As you spend more time on the charts, your mind is going down and down and downhill. Your essential ability to focus and make optimal decisions and clear and concise decisions goes down. It's weaker, because you are essentially exercising your mind over and over for hours and hours and hours. Naturally, by the end of a specific period of time, you are going to be more fatigued, less clear thinking, maybe you've developed some brain fog, and you're going to be way less likely to make optimal decisions. Now, if we extend that out and realize that the market and your trading account is purely an extension of your brain, what is going to end up happening is the decisions you make, as they become worse, the impact and the reflection on your P&L is going to show that. So as you show poor decision making, as you start to maybe overtrade or take poor positions, you know, maybe it's not even a B setup, maybe it's a C setup, whatever it is, as you try and force your will onto the market and your decision fatigue gets higher and higher, that is inevitably going to show on your P&L. And you're going to get to the end of the day and be thinking, why did I do any of this? I quite clearly see after I've rested a little bit and after I've sat out, you've been taking trades towards the end of the session that just you shouldn't have even been doing. Now, the optimum way to do this is to set a time limit. So the way to avoid this, purely just set a time limit. Set a point where you are now done for the day. And even if, let's say for example, you set 4 o'clock in the afternoon my time. So that would be 2 p.m. British time, maybe even later. Let's say 3 p.m. British time, you set that as your stop. You are not allowed to trade past that point. Even if a setup forms at 3:01, you are not going to take that trade. And the reason behind that is you need to set a fixed time where you can jump off the charts and essentially reset your brain ready for tomorrow, because as you spend that more time on the charts, not only is your decision fatigue going down, but your appetite for a trade is also going up. So you have mental capacity going downwards like this, you have appetite for a trade going up, and that is a combination that is destined for failure, because those two combined is going to directly result in FOMO, in forced trades, and essentially poor decision making. And that is going to blow accounts. That is why you are blowing accounts. That's why you're losing unnecessary trades. That's why your P&L is always red towards the end of the day, is because you're spending so much unnecessary time to the point where you don't even need to be on the charts anymore. You don't even need to be looking at the market. Go away, set yourself an alarm on your phone, and literally step away from the market at a given time. And I promise you, your P&L is going to be 10 times better because of it. Now, this exact thing happened to me where I essentially cut down my trading from trading London all the way through to New York, all the way through to the end of New York, to PM session, whatever. And I was taking some trades and I was becoming profitable, but by the end of the day, I'd actually ended up a lot of days giving some money back to the market when I necessarily shouldn't have done. And when I cut this down to purely trading a little bit of London and a little bit of New York and having specific times for when I do that, my profitability skyrocketed, because I understood that I was actually taking optimum trades early on in the session. And if the trades weren't printing, or maybe if I missed my move, I developed a little bit of FOMO, then I stayed on the charts trying to make myself feel better and look for another move. What immediately happened was, I'd give money back to the market. So when I stopped doing that, I'd have that initial green trade and then step away. And guess what? By the end of the day, all of that profit was still mine. So I wasn't paying this unnecessary tax to the market. And then the compound effect starts to take place. The compound effect of winning a lot more, your win rate's going up, you're giving less to the market. And essentially, if you compound your risk, you're gonna start making serious money from trading by doing this, because you're stopping yourself from stopping that compound growth, right? When you are giving back to the market, that compound growth is getting a hit every time, and you're just flattening your P&L curve, which is the last thing you want to do. Now, you've probably never heard of the constraint principle. Now, the constraint principle dictates that when you have a deadline or a time limit on your decisions, the effectiveness of your decision making is massively increased. So as a trader, we can utilize this extremely well by understanding when you have a limit on the amount of trades that you can take per day, or a limit on the times that you can trade in, i.e. giving yourself a deadline for your sessions, the effectiveness of your decision making is going to go extremely high. You are now going to be able to understand that if you get a trade within this window, maybe this 3-hour window, you are good to go. And you can understand that if it's an A+ setup, you are good to take it. However, if you don't get a trade within that window, you now know that after that 3-hour period, you are unable to trade anyway, because you've set a limitation on yourself. And that means that you're not then going to stay on the charts and force a B setup into being what looks like an A setup. You're not going to force your will onto the market. You're not going to FOMO into any positions, because you understand that outside of this window, you're not going to trade anyway, okay? And during that window, the effectiveness of your decisions is going to be massively increased. You're going to be able to spot A+ setups a lot higher. If you're struggling with actually not pulling the trigger on trades as well, it's going to make you more likely to be able to do that. And if you are someone who struggles with spending much time on the charts, way too much time, you are going to be able to understand you are going to trade within this hour period or 3-hour period, and then you are done after that. And not only is that going to increase the effectiveness of your decision making, it's also going to actually put a benefit on your mental health, which is going to give you longevity as a trader. Now, one of the number one reasons why traders fail, especially at an institutional level, is because they just get burnt out. Trading is a mental sport, and it is an extremely difficult mental sport. It is one where you are essentially not going to be able to continue if you are spending all of your hours on the charts and essentially burning yourself out by locking in all day, every day. By the end of the day, end of the week, you are going to be absolutely exhausted. Your decisions are going to be worse. Your emotions are going to be way higher. You go into this zombie-like mode where you are unable to actually cognitively think, and your emotions and your autopilot is running your trading, and that is the worst possible thing that can happen to a trader. So the thing that actually ended up happening to me when I limited my trading time was I realized there's a world outside of trading, right? There's a famous saying, but you're trading to live, you're not living to trade, okay? So now I can trade. I'll go after trading or before to the gym. I'll go and spend time with family, with friends. We'll go out for dinner. You know, look at where I live. Look at all of this. There is just pure beauty absolutely everywhere. And that has allowed me to understand that and to realize it. I'll get out into nature, go for a walk, go for drives. And you get to the end of the day feeling refreshed. You're not feeling like you've just had a whole day in an exam or, you know, in an interview. Because at the end of the day, that's what trading does to you. It puts you in this mode, and if you lock in for too long, again, you get to the end of the day and you're completely drained, and then you're going to fall out of love with trading and you're going to not want to be doing it. And again, we're looking for longevity here. You're not trying to trade for quick money, and if you are, you should stop trading straight away, because that is not what this game is about. It's about creating longevity, creating a system and discipline and habits and a psychology that's going to allow you to trade for 5, 10, 15 years. So many people see this as something they're going to do for a few months, get money and then move on, but I promise you, you are not able to do that as a trader. And even if you are, you shouldn't want to, because trading is a game that can give you everything in life if you give yourself to it, if you understand the way to play the game. And at the minute, you can't understand how to play the game because you're spending too much time on the charts and you're stopping yourself from trading in an optimum mindset. Now, talking about mindset, most traders are thinking about optimum conditions, they're thinking about optimum volume, they're thinking about session opens when they're talking about limiting their trading time, because they think only of the mechanical stuff. They think about the market, they think about, you know, institutions, all of this sort of thing, and it's so easy to do that, but everybody forgets about the one thing that's controlling your account: you. Everybody forgets that actually, when you break it down into an anatomical level, you are essentially an extension of your trading account. Your trading account is just your brain. If you look at your P&L and it's red, the reason is because something up here is not correct. Think about it. You are just essentially a monkey with a brain, with fingers, who is pressing a button to buy or sell. So actually, you can clearly see an extension from your brain down onto the charts and down into your trading account. So if you aren't able to go ahead and fix your psychology, why the hell would you be profitable as a trader? So this is why we're talking about limiting that time on the charts, because you want to be coming to the charts with an optimal mental clarity and optimal psychology. And this is why I tell all of my students, if you've had a bad day, or if you've had a bad night's sleep, maybe you had an argument with your missus or with your parents or whatever it is, don't trade that day, because you're not in an optimum condition to be coming to the charts and making good decisions. You know, if you just had a car crash, you wouldn't expect to go into work and make big business decisions, right? It's the same with trading. If you've had something that is impacting your mind, or essentially you understand that maybe you're coming to the charts one morning with an unoptimal condition, just don't trade that day. What is the worst that's going to happen? You know, you feel as if you have to trade every day and you're going to miss something if you don't come onto the charts one day. But last week I took 3 days off. I had my girlfriend's parents here, and I took 3 days off the charts because I was busy. And did the world end? No. Most likely I wouldn't have got a trade anyway, because the market was not ideal. But even if I would have done, guess what? The same trade is most likely going to print today or tomorrow or the next day. So you're not missing anything by taking a few days off the market. In fact, you're most likely benefiting your long-term trading, and you're benefiting your P&L, because turning up to your desk to trade with a bad mindset is most likely going to end in a red P&L, right? So if you actually miss out that day, take a day off, what's actually going to happen is you're probably going to be up $1,000 from where you were if you would have traded it, because you would have most likely traded with bad psychology, bad decision making, and you would have taken a loss. So everyone always thinks about what they could have gained, but they never think about what they could have lost. And actually avoiding a bad trading day, or avoiding a bad trade in general, or avoiding a loss is going to be 10 times better for you than trying to force something anyway that's going to result in that negative trade nonetheless. Now, this again is why FOMO is complete bullshit, because there is no such thing as FOMO. If you missed something, you missed it for a reason, okay? Everything happens for a reason. Bring some spirituality and some intuition into the charts, because I promise you, you need it. But if you missed a trade, you missed it for a reason. Now, let's take a running market, for example, okay? Let's say the market's driving right now, and you see an entry, but you're not quick enough to jump in, okay? Or maybe you don't see an entry, and you want to just FOMO in anyway because the move is so strong, and you think it's going to continue going, okay? 1 time out of 10, that trade will play out, and you've missed out on some money. But 9 times out of 10, that is going to cook you. It's going to reverse on you. You're going to get stopped out. You're going to lose money, and you're going to be livid at yourself for doing it. And then what's going to happen after you do that is you're going to most likely revenge trade, try and make that money back, or at least as a minimum, it's going to have a negative impact on your psychology. So the best thing to do when you're experiencing FOMO, the most optimum thing, the best case scenario, is for you to actually step away from the charts, because the best case scenario if you do FOMO is you get 10% chance of being lucky. Now, the worst case scenario is you blow your entire account, you blow your funded account, whatever it is. Now, weigh those two options up, okay? What's likely gonna happen anyway is you're gonna build negative momentum. Even if you FOMO and you win it, you're gonna build negative habits, negative momentum that's gonna lead to inevitably anyway down the road your trading account being blown. And again, trading all comes to momentum, okay? It all comes down to momentum. As a trader, you need to learn to build positive momentum. And that momentum does not come from taking wins on the charts, from taking massive 5-to-1 risk to reward trades. The momentum actually comes from showing up every day, being disciplined, and actually following your plan and not succeeding or not giving in to FOMO. Because what is going to happen then is you get to the end of the day, and I promise you, when you actually go and essentially avoid those FOMO trades, or you go ahead and actually stay disciplined when it's actually a struggle to not do so, when you've got temptation, at the end of the day, you're going to have such a positive feedback within your mind. That dopamine release is so real, to the point where then you come to the charts the next day and you're a little bit more disciplined. It's a little bit easier to be disciplined and to be essentially following your plan. And then the third day, it gets even easier. And then by the end of week 1, week 2, week 3, you are now not even thinking about FOMOing or taking poor entries, because you've built that momentum. And I promise you, it is such a strong thing. It enables you to actually become profitable by building these positive habits. Now, vice versa, you can build negative momentum as a trader too. You FOMO once, maybe it succeeds, maybe it doesn't, maybe you get lucky, but then guess what? You get to the end of the day and you know deep down you shouldn't have done that. And the next day, you think, okay, I'm gonna be disciplined, But guess what? It's like cigarettes. Once you have one, the likelihood you're gonna have another one is massively increased. So the next day, you see something on the charts and you think, oh, yesterday's FOMO trade actually went quite well. Yeah, let me take this. You FOMO in, guess what? You get wrecked. Now you're down X amount, and now what's gonna happen? Even if you manage to stay disciplined after that, you get to the charts the next day, and you're thinking, guess what? I need to make back the money I lost yesterday. So what happens? You see a trade, maybe it's not quite there, maybe it's half a setup, maybe it's a little bit off an A setup, but you take it anyway because you need to make the money back. Then what happens? You get cooked, and now you're in this downward spiral of negative momentum that you've done and built from only one poor decision. So it's important within trading to make sure you eliminate those bad decisions immediately, because they can spiral so quickly, and it's a snowball effect. And by the end of a week, you've essentially blown accounts, lost your money, and you're back to where you started, frustrated and broke. It's a horrible feeling. Everyone's been there, including myself. But the only way to get out of that is by building this positive momentum of building good habits in the market. Now, essentially, the final thing I want to talk about here is market rhythm. Now, market rhythm is something that not many traders talk about. But actually, the market does go in waves and rhythms. So the way the market moves and the way the market presents opportunities is rhythmical. If you are going to be a successful trader, you have to be able to wait. The best opportunities in the market come to those who sit there and they wait, because the market is not going to print opportunities infinitely. It's not going to be an opportunity every second. And it's actually going to come in a pattern. There's going to be opportunities at similar times every day. Those times are going to change throughout time and throughout as the market goes on. But the good traders and the best traders know when those opportunities are going to come, or if they don't know that, they know to wait and to understand the conditions that's going to actually provide the best opportunity. And if you can learn to understand the market rhythm and learn to understand the waves of good opportunity, bad opportunity, good opportunity, bad opportunity, or good probability, bad probability, that is when you really understand how to flow with the market. Because the market inevitably is an organism. It's like a human being, okay? Or like an organism full of bacteria, whatever it is. It moves together, it moves in waves. And essentially, the market understands and rewards your good trading habits. Now, it doesn't do this consciously. It's not something where it's going, you right now are being patient, let me give you a trade. But subconsciously, yourself and the market is going to reward your patience by presenting opportunities throughout time. It's going to give you conditions that are optimal to trade. And if you can align yourself with that, that is one of the most genuinely biggest skills that a trader can have. And this is why I always say, a lot of people think trading is purely mechanical. It's purely something where you have to be a clone, a robot, where you have zero emotion and you come to the markets and you just trade like a robot or like an algorithm. This is not how retail traders are actually going to become profitable. Out of all of the profitable traders I know, including myself, every single one of them talks about intuition in the market, talks about feeling a sense of intuition alongside their strategy, their setups. And you have to develop this sense of intuition to the point where you can actually get a genuine feeling of when poor conditions are printing, when there's a good trade printing, when maybe your setup's even formed, but something in the back of your mind is not telling you to take the trade. And that for me was one of the biggest skills that I've developed. Now, I've gone a little bit off topic from trading for 3 hours a day, but I feel like that was an important point to mention. Now, I'm probably going to make another video on that in the future, so I don't want to go too deep into it right now. But again, this is just a chat. This is just me allowing my brain to go a little bit on a walk and talk you through all of the stuff that you need to know, because essentially at the end of the day, I've been through this journey myself. The exact journey that you are trying to embark on right now is one that I've been through myself, and it's a journey that can be sped up if you know the right things. I'm not talking about taking the shortcuts. If you have someone who's been through these experiences, who can teach you the lessons that you are going to learn anyway, it can be a lot less daunting for you. Now look, just seeing if there's anything else I wanted to talk about. I wrote down some notes. But no, look, that's pretty much it. Now look, trading for less time throughout the day is what made me that initial 37K that I just showed you on my notifications right there this month. I took, how many trades did I take this month? I took 12 trades last month. 12 trades. And that made me £37,000 or £27,000. Now, had I have taken 30 trades, that amount could have been £100,000. But it also, and probably more likely, could have been 5,000, 10,000, even negative, okay? Because the more you try and milk the market, the less you are going to get out of it, okay? It's the same with anything. The more you ask for something, or the more you are desperate to get something, the less likely you are going to achieve it. You need to build a mentality of abundance within the market, okay? There is infinite setups, there is infinite money, there's infinite opportunity within the markets. You don't need to be sat there like a 9-to-5 job for 10 hours a day, scraping away at it and trying to essentially squeeze money out of the market, because there's no need. The money is infinite. Once you start to position yourself in the correct way, the tap will begin to flow, and it will flow very, very heavily, and you can start to make serious money from within the markets. But you don't need to be trying to squeeze out every drop like a lemon, because then the tap's going to dry up. So give yourself the ability to actually step away from the charts, position yourself with an abundance mindset and understand that you are giving your time to the markets, not vice versa, okay? You are the one who's turning up every day and putting in the work and building these right habits and redefining what is actually a win. And a win should be for you, not sitting there all day, not FOMOing, not making money, because a win is not making money in the markets. Making money is just a byproduct, okay? Making money is a byproduct of you following your plan. A win for you should be sticking to your plan, staying off the charts when you know to stay off the charts, following your rules, jump off the markets at a specific point throughout the day, and that's it. It's extremely simple, but again, people fail to realize that this is the actual secret to making money in the market, because this is going to unlock a different level of trading. It's going to unlock a confidence. It's going to give you the essential ability to stop putting the market on a pedestal, put yourself at the same level as the market. And at the end of the day, that's the only way you can get money out of it, when you become equal with the market, okay? But look, I am essentially trying to give you guys as much value as possible here. Now, I've made a WhatsApp group with a small number of killers. We got 300 applications for this WhatsApp group. There's currently 12 people in there. We're still accepting applications. It's completely free, but we just want to make it a group full of absolute killers to enable you to actually build a family within this WhatsApp group. And I'm going to be dropping some severe games, all of my setups every single day, dropping some psychology and essentially answering your questions. So if you do want to apply for that, the link is in the description. Again, completely free. But if you're a killer in the trading space or you want to become one, this is the group for you. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, more of a heart-to-heart raw video, then listen, drop a like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.